This is the Weighing In podcast with Rick and Gina. This podcast is a collaboration between Empower Weight Loss and Lifestyle Coaching and Next Step Lifestyle Coaching.
In this episode, we've got part 2 of Member Stories We Never Forget. Those real-life moments in weight management that carry such a lesson that here we are talking about them years, even decades later. Coming up next, Member Stories We Never Forget, part 2.
Okay,
right.
Gina, so here we are again, and we're actually following up on the podcast that we did last time, where the title was Member Stories We Never Forget and the Lessons That We Learned. So we have Member Stories We Never Forget part 2 because we didn't get to everything last time.
Right.
And we're not going to get to everything this time either.
Well, let's say 60 years between the two of us of doing this work.
Yes.
There's a lot of stories,
Yes.
a lot of experience.
Let's just say, call a spade, 70. It's 70 years. Come on.
70 years.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
ouch.
35
Yikes.
apiece.
Right.
So why did we think that this was a topic worth revisiting twice? I'll just recap some of the things that I think we touched on in the first one, which is there were some experiences that we had as part of our training and then also part of our work with real people that were so memorable in terms of the lessons or the takeaways that they imparted to us that here we are, however many years later, remembering them still.
Yeah.
It's literally changing the way that we coached.
Absolutely. I remember some of the things we're going to talk about today were things we learned when we started as fledglings, and they stick with you because they have a meaning. They have a message for sure.
So there is a message for people listening. Presuming people listening want to manage their weight and want to lower the hurdles as much as possible for managing their weight, there's a lot to be learned from the experience of others.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
There are patterns that emerge, and there are patterns that can be avoided the more we sort of just become sensitive to these things. So in the last one, we talked about 3 different stories, just really recapping very quickly. We talked about the slippery slope of weight gain. Oh, it was just a pound. And, we gave an extreme case, Hal, who gained all of his 82 pounds back, 1 pound at a time. It's just so slippery. There are so many ways that we can let ourselves off the hook that lead to another week of weight gain. And so that was sort of the message there. Another anecdote, story, training area, we sort of called it the disappearing act. And I think this was just a big one for us, where you'd be working with someone, even if you were fully engaged and things were going well, life just has a way of pushing people's weight management onto their back burner.
Yep.
And how many times have you thought, boy, I haven't heard from so-and-so, and you never do hear from so-and-so ever again?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think a tough one because you can understand where it's coming from, the failure syndrome, maybe they're just whatever. It's tough as coaches because we get in there with people, we really want to help, and we really get in. It's a relationship of sorts, and it's tough. That's a toughie, but understandable.
But it does really inform our coaching, doesn't it? I mean, when I start to sense that someone is drifting or, the alarm bells start going off, and that's when
you notice patterns of behavior. I mean, when you work this closely with people, you know what they do, when they call, you know how they act. And when you quickly, when you see they're doing something different, you're like, maybe I need to give them an extra call or send an extra email or something. So,
right. Because if you don't, it only gets harder for the person and then for you as their partner in this work.
Right.
So those were our 3. So here we've got a slew of other news stories. So we'll see how many we can get to. I wanted to start with a kind of a part 2 with physical activity. Oh, I didn't mention the third one was Pat, who remember she couldn't get into the clinic. She was extremely immobile, couldn't do the 6 stairs, and was literally terrified as I was talking to her and then in the class, and she just blossomed, lost half her body weight. One of her favorite methods of PA, as you heard if you listened to the last podcast, was dancing. And I got a letter many years later, thanking me in particular, because I worked with her the whole time till I left that particular clinic. Thank you for giving us our grandmother back and for allowing her to dance again. It was just brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
And whoever thought she would have gotten to that point. So I want
Yeah.
to pick up on this one still. With PA, anything is possible. Gina, I am still so influenced by the story that I'm about to share because this was the first one
Me
that
too.
let me see, like, wow,
Mhm.
how wherever people are at, however sedentary they are, whatever health problems, there's always a next step, metaphorically and literally,
Mhm.
to moving more.
Yeah.
So this is the Steve Silva story.
Mhm.
So we both remember Steve. So when we first started at HMR, so Steve was the director of fitness, a very compelling guy, really confident, capable, so knowledgeable about all areas of fitness. And then we learned that he used to be a member at the time. He was a patient. It was a medically supervised program.
Mhm.
And we learned that Steve had lost 230 pounds. So I
Yeah.
will be showing a couple of pictures of Steve and where he went, but we'll just sort of recap what was a huge learning experience for us, where first of all, his doctor told him, "You're going to die." He literally said those words. He didn't
Mm.
couch it.
Yeah.
And that landed in a way with Steve that had him say, I've got to do something. So he became a member or a patient at the HMR program. By the way, Gina, isn't it interesting? I've heard so many different versions of this. It's almost like there were two types of people in the world. The people for whom the stern doctor, it works for them.
Yeah.
And then the people for whom the gentle, acknowledging, nurturing style
Yeah.
works. But haven't you heard both of those through the years when that the
Yeah.
doctor he made a huge
100%.
impact, but it was like I've actually had people say if he had been mean and tough, I would have like changed doctors.
Right, but I've heard the opposite too. Like for some people, it was their wake up call, and so it really depends. I always think it interesting too because sometimes doctors are stern and people avoid the doctor.
Yes.
I've had members who wouldn't go to the doctor because they didn't want to hear it.
Yes.
So it is interesting how
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
how it
Individual
lands.
differences, as always,
Mhm.
right? They prevail. People are
Yeah,
just so different.
absolutely.
What's going to resonate? So anyway, so Steve, he joined the program. He lost 230 pounds. Do you remember what his very first exercise plan was that Larry
Do,
gave him? Larry, the founder of
do.
HMR and our mentor for many years. What was the very first PA plan?
It was to walk to the end of his driveway to get the mailbox.
That's
I
right.
mean, to get the mail out of the mailbox.
To
Not to
get
get,
the mail. Just
yes,
that
out of the
because he would come home from work and he would reach out and get it and not do that.
out of the car. You know that.
Yes. And it
Right,
wasn't an easy walk.
right,
No.
right, right, right.
So I'll just tell you, I have a member right now
Hmm.
who I went right to that story. I showed her this slide in the group
Yeah,
because she
yeah.
very upfront about it, just to give her some hope. And so it started with chair exercises. We even created a
Hmm.
material with chair exercises. And she
Yeah.
started doing that. She reached 600. She was at 600 for a while, went to 800, did
Mhm.
800 again that week, then hit 1200. Now, this is over many weeks.
This is
But
calories burned, right?
yes, thank you.
Okay, okay, got it.
Physical activity calories burned.
Hmm.
And I'm just telling you, the mailbox story was just always there. It's always been there in the back of my head. Last
Yeah.
week, 1800.
Oh, that's amazing. Love those stories.
Yeah, well, so Steve, he did the mail, and then he did
Yeah.
more than the mail, and then he became a prolific walker.
Mhm.
And then he started to do other machines in the gym, including the old rolling stairs. Not the stair
They're
stepper, but the rolling stair. They're a whole
rolling
nother level in terms of the stair machines.
hard,
Oh,
hard
I
to do.
love it. You don't have to go
So
very
hard.
fast. You'll be breathing
Nope.
pretty
And
quickly.
it's effective.
Yes.
A little bit.
So back in that day, we had a gym at the corporate office at HMR, and we used to all do what we would call the vertical mile, 528 steps, flights, if I'm remembering that correctly. And
Yep.
we're not going to talk about Nancy Adamczyk beating me, my dear coach Nancy, in the vertical mile when we had a
Oh,
World
you
Cup.
competitive people over there.
Not,
Yeah.
I wasn't really.
Not you.
She just insisted on doing this silly little contest. I'm not even
Yes,
sure I was really trying as hard as I should have been. No, she
that's it.
beat me, and she beat me legitimately. And Nancy, I know you're listening. One more time, Nance. Congratulations.
That's
Yeah, so Steve
great.
started doing vertical miles, and then we can just cut to it. He eventually became so fit. This is someone who couldn't walk down his driveway barely, that he entered into this effort to beat the Guinness Book of World Records for the vertical mile. And he did it at the Eiffel Tower. It was a big event for HMR at the
Big,
time.
huge,
Huge event.
huge
A
event in
lot
the
of news.
paper, the whole thing,
Absolutely.
media.
He missed it by just about a minute. It was like
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
close. But to be honest, that would have just been icing on the cake. I mean, the fact is, and I'll be showing the photo, you guys can see he's a different person.
Yeah.
And that physical activity was a defining aspect. So that was, again, a huge member story that I will never forget, that to this day informs my treatment. And I literally heard that story when I first started in 1989.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
that's that many years later.
So a lot of people think because they're so overweight that they can't do it. They also think that in order to do it, they have to do it all. I have to do an hour. Like, you see it on TV or in the movies, or maybe they read. You don't. You start with 5 minutes. You start with 2 minutes. You start with a walk to the driveway. It's what you can do, and you build on that. And I have people in my program, and you do too, including Steve, the one we learned about in 1989, who have done that.
Yes.
And it's pretty remarkable. So the message for it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes. Just start and
Sure,
get in motion,
start.
get in action.
Yes, absolutely. And the training effect is extraordinary. Once you get a few reps in, it gets easier much more quickly than people will. People think it will never get easy. And it's the opposite. It actually gets easy. So I think we were angling at this. So this person who I'm currently working with, let's just call her Rachel. So what do you think she said about the 1800? What do we often hear? People for whom physical activity is the biggest nightmare that they can imagine. And now here she is through this process of shaping up. She did 1800. Do you care to guess a comment or two, the nature of her comments about?
She feels great.
Say more.
She feels like, oh my God, I can do it. The
Yes.
power of that. She feels empowered. Not to use a word that, I'm very familiar with, but she feels empowered. You go from being disempowered, I can't do it, it's too hard, I'll never do it, oh my God, to being empowered. You can do it. It feels good.
There's such a huge psychological effect. And
Good.
we literally have people cheering for her. By the way,
Yeah.
she's approaching 100 pounds of weight loss in the next 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And she couldn't really have done
She's a
the
different
exercise
person.
she's doing without the weight loss. So
Yeah.
it's all synergistic.
Well, plus it's going to help her keep it off. I mean,
Yes.
you got to have that kind of exercise.
So psychologically, she's,
Awesome.
glowing, but also physically, like actually said she enjoyed it. I couldn't
Oh my
believe. Yeah. I mean, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Yeah, that's great. That's
So,
great.
yeah, a great story. And so with physical activity, I think the lesson here is anything is possible. Whatever hand of cards you have been dealt, there's always more that is available in terms of movement and the benefits that come from it than people give themselves credit for.
Yeah, never say never. It's mindset. Be open to the coaching.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
open to the coaching, because sometimes people are very resistant or closed off, and be open to that. At least try it.
By the way, real quick, because sometimes people will say this, and I want to just sort of deflate this argument right here. So now, granted, Rachel needed to lose some weight to be able to move without the pain. But I have heard many times through the years, I'm going to wait till I lose the weight to start exercising. I mean, we don't allow that to happen. But like, what is the problem with that from your view?
There's a lot of problems, but I mean, I can think of a few people who have done that, and they get to their goal weight, and of course now you're trying to balance the food calories, and that's enough of a job. And then trying to build in a sustainable exercise practice to support it is almost impossible at that point. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. I've seen it over and over again where it's just too hard.
I knew exactly what you're going to say because that's always the case. You start introducing more foods. Now you're juggling more decisions, more decision anxiety. How are you going to have a more concerted effort on the exercise? I think and your second point, I'll just say it in a sentence. The exercise you build up to while you're losing weight is the amount of exercise you will practice. to keep the weight off. And if you didn't build it up, you're not going to suddenly build it up in maintenance
Right,
or in face. You're just
right,
not. You're just not.
right. That isn't to discourage, that isn't to, it's just, I mean, I think sometimes our job is to just facts,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
facts.
But well, last
So,
thing on this. I mean, you're losing weight. You're feeling positive. You're feeling reinforcement. You're feeling motivation. How is there any better time than when you're feeling positive, reinforced, and motivated with the weight loss and
right,
complying high with the behavioral aspect? This is the time. With everything going down the highway in the right direction, you this is when you tackle the physical activity along with everything else.
yeah, and start small, like you did
Yes,
with Rachel.
right. That's right.
Start small. Yeah.
Okay, so with physical activity, anything is possible. Okay, the next one, oh, this was a mind blower. So I think that the takeaway message,
Mm,
for me anyway, is the calories, food calories now, not
mhm.
exercise. The food calories are always more than you think.
Always.
Always, always, always. Whether
Mhm.
you're eating them, in an unstructured way, they're always more than you think. Or in the situation I want to share here, and you remember this, it was the Dean and Betty story. We were able to look very carefully at people's rates of weight loss. And we were able to see when people's get based on what they were reporting, here's what I'm eating, because the diet was so structured, we were able to say, your weight loss is lagging behind what would be predicted here. So we used to be able to say, here's what would be expected roughly. It's an estimate, but roughly ballpark based on how
Mhm.
many for the foods that they were eating, whether they be shakes or entrees or fruits and vegetables to lose the weight. And we were able to say, hey, you should have lost this much. You've only lost this much. There are some missing calories here.
Right.
So this was a big training point, and the names were changed, but we used actual member data, and it was Dean and Betty. We had a male and a female, and we're not going to do Betty here. Let's just do Dean,
Yeah.
but just to get into it, and yeah, I'll put the slide up so that it's not so overwhelming if people are watching. But just if you're listening, just listen for the gist. So
Mhm.
Dean started the program at 280 pounds, lost weight down to 255, and then his weight loss really started to slow down. Now, he reported being sort of on the diet 100%. Our term being for that,
In the box.
he reported being in the box 5 out of 7 days. So he's on point. 2 days he's out, right? So we're able to look at, well, he's reporting this many foods he's eating, and we know the calories of these foods. So we're able to estimate here's about how many calories he's eating based on what he's reporting. And then you can double check versus how much is he losing, because it's a pound of weight loss is about 3,500 calories, give or take. We're able to sort of do the reverse engineering and say, hey, again, you're missing so many calories. So Dean, over the previous 3 weeks, 4 weeks, should have lost 14 pounds. He lost 4. So he's missing 10 pounds of weight loss, or 10 times 3,500 calories. So he's missing about 35,000 calories over the course of a month.
Right.
He has to be eating those, because if he wasn't eating those, he would have lost more weight, right?
Right.
So, and on a given week, hey, maybe someone's retaining water, something
Right.
weird's happening, but that's why
Sure.
we looked at it over 3 or 4 weeks of time. You're not retaining water for 4 weeks in a row.
No, no.
So, doing the math, if over a month's time he's missing 3,500 calories that are not accounted for by the numbers that he's reporting, that works out to be missing per day over 1,000 calories. To be precise, 1,165 calories.
Right.
But the problem is that's assuming he's missing those calories all 7 days
Equally.
equally.
Yeah.
He's reporting how many days in the box. Those are not high calorie days.
Right.
Five, right?
Right.
So you
So
have
he's
to.
doing all of this in 2 days is where you're.
He's doing all of this in 2 days. So this
Right.
was, early on, we when we started to really work the numbers, this was not something that was intuitive. It's like, oh, Dean's still down in weight. Yeah, maybe it could be a little bit more, but then you start to get super granular on the calories. What it worked out to being, and again, these are estimates, but the gist is absolutely correct.
Mhm.
For the 2 days that he was out of the box, just based on the weight he'd lost and the numbers he was reporting, he was eating approximately 4,700 calories per day. Over his
Per
budget.
day.
Over his
Over
budget.
his budget. Right,
Over
right,
the
right.
reported shakes and entrees and
Yeah.
fruits and veg.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
just remember saying, no, that's not possible. And then
Possible.
the more you do the work, the more you do the math, and you just start to see it. And then on a positive, you start to work more closely around where calories are missing. You
Mhm.
work on, while in weight loss, to increase days in the box, out of the box in ways that they just didn't even realize how many calories they were. It all
Mhm.
starts to make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that makes me think of is the how much the mind is involved in it, in that so he was out of the box for 2 days that he reported, and it was a lot of calories in those 2 days.
Yes.
So in his mind, he somehow justified that that was okay. Okay. 5 out of 7, that's pretty good. So it almost like it didn't matter what the calories were. It was just 2 days out of the, do you know what I mean?
I
So
do.
his mind was getting involved there, and that happens.
Very involved. You've got the whole licensed self-indulgence
Yeah,
bias, which I think we've talked about, which is
that's
I have
exactly
done
it.
so well
Yep,
Monday through Friday. I deserve a
right.
little bit of a break here. Hey, I ate a little more pizza than I wanted to, but I wasn't crazy, crazy. You don't have to be crazy.
I don't
To,
think people understand how easy, to our point in this whole story, is how easy it is for the calories to add up. They're like, oh, what's the harm? It's just the one pizza. It's just one whatever, you know, and it just doesn't work like that.
in my
So,
own weekends off the reservation, I don't appreciate it
right,
because I've
right.
got all the biases and everything going. It's a whole
It's
circus.
human.
Just being human. Yeah. So
So
you're,
human.
thank you for bringing it back to the main point, which is that the calories are always more than you think. Now we won't do, so that was the Dean part of the story. We
Mm,
won't do Betty. It was kind of the same conclusion. The only twist there was that at least Dean was acknowledging that he was out of the box.
right.
The Betty example is I'm not out of the box at all. So it's a much tougher conversation.
The tough one.
There are
Yeah.
a lot of avoidances to sort of break through on that one, but it was the same
Yeah.
conclusion, which was like an astonishingly high number of calories over one's maintenance budget that people just, it's just so easy to minimize it as this
Yeah.
can't be why I'm not losing the
That's
weight.
exactly right. Right,
It
because in
is
his
why.
mind, and there's also a culture thing. Like, there's a lot of programs or a lot of, you know, um, I don't even know what to call it, thoughts about, well, you just stay on the diet Monday through Friday and you have the weekends off. That's the way it works. And it just doesn't really, because this is a perfect example, because you can overeat your calories by thousands.
It's the whole 5-2 plan. It's
Yeah,
literally got a name. It's called the 5-2 plan.
right,
You know, it's the
right.
part-time dieting.
Yes.
And yes, it's just
Part-time results.
the math doesn't, you work so hard to eke out the calorie savings through dieting structure and blah, blah, blah. And you don't have to work at all to
Right.
have way more calories. Like the math should be real clear there. No work at all, high calories, a ton of
Mm-hmm.
work, some calorie deficiting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just math that makes it very hard for all of us,
Yeah.
honestly.
Two things to add to this. I think one is in terms of ease of calories adding up, I just have to say I was at Stop and Shop. I think it was Stop and Shop, it was somewhere. And I'm checking out, right? And they have these like freaking cookies. I'm not even kidding you. They were like frisbee size. They were so big. Individual.
Stop and Shop. Wow.
I think it was somewhere like that.
Well,
Anyway,
I shouldn't be surprised.
I picked it up. I looked at it because I have to see. So it's one. I could have eaten this cookie in 2 minutes. It was 520 calories for one individual wrapped cookie. And then, of course, who's gonna, you eat one and then you're off to the races with the
Yes.
whole mindset of, well, I blew it, so
Well, the flat tire analogy.
yeah,
Well, I just blew the tire out on the highway. May as well pull over and slash the other three. No, but that's it. Well, the day's blown. May as well
as
have
no
another
one ever.
cookie. How
Yes,
about this
exactly.
though? How about even if you claw and scratch back to say, okay, I'm not going to slash the other three tires, but I ate 520 calories. your budget for the rest of the day took a
Right.
massive hit. Now you have to like really stress your best high volume, low calorie strategies. And that's a whole problem solving
Well, right.
issue.
And your budget took a hit on, nothing nutritious at all. No nutritional nothing there,
Yes.
sugar and refined carbohydrates and fat, which
Yes.
is the trifecta, as you call it, of ultra processed food. The other last thing I'll say, because I know I don't want to spend too much, but I just love the whole, I think let people understand the math of it. I remember when we first were training, and you and I, started at the same time, understanding the math of it. Not that we'll go into it in detail here, but just there is science behind it. I
Yes.
mean, you have a calorie budget to spend, and there are calories in food. So, like, this is where what we're talking about with the math, when the math doesn't work out,
Yeah.
we actually have the ability to look at that with our clients, which I think is pretty cool
It's
because that
amazing.
definitely allows us to coach them in a different way.
Yes. And I always say, while people, like, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow. Like,
Mm.
it's just calories. They're
Mhm.
sneaking in and you're not aware of it. That's a
Mhm.
tough pill to swallow. I would take
Mhm.
umbrage at that as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the way I like to position it is, if we say that it's your body that's broken, you've just ceded control
Mhm.
100% to the vagaries of
Yeah.
something we don't understand. We
Right.
know calories.
Right.
We can find missing calories. Who's in
Right.
control when you're doing that?
Right.
We are.
Right.
So to me, it's a really positive. It's a calorie issue primarily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's. And let's not cede control about
Yeah.
our weight management. The
Right.
problem is it's just so out of control in the culture that it's a really complicated thing to really know what the calories are, which is our main point.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So with PA, anything is possible. The calories are always higher than you think. Just accept it. It's the truth for me, for you, for everybody. Let's now talk about, oh boy, what an iconic story this was. And it's led to now a new iconic story, which
Mhm.
coincidentally was the title of our first podcast.
Yep.
So this is a little bit more about how those calories go up. Not just that they go up, but how they go up.
Yeah.
So the classic story we learned in our very first year, do you remember what it was called?
The carrot cake lady.
The carrot cake lady. This poor woman, just totally
I
anonymously
know.
referred to the carrot cake lady.
But Rick, I remember it as if it was yesterday. It
Yes,
was so, I was like, really?
yes,
Really?
yes,
Interesting. It
yes.
was one of those like,
Yeah, yeah. No, not just in, like, really? Like, no way. That
no
really?
way. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
know.
then, but these things are extremely, extremely common. So let me just tick it off real quick, what we learned from her, and then we'll update it with the latest one.
Yeah.
So the carrot cake lady, she bought two carrot cakes, frozen carrot cakes for the price of one. And
Right. The coupon. She saw the coupon.
saw yes, thank you. It was the coupon. So that's really the first domino, right?
Right.
So next time you see a coupon for tempting high calorie food,
I could never look at a coupon again.
yes, that is the first domino. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So she coupon, got the 2 for 1. She had guests coming. She had dinner, right? And
Mhm.
so, very reasonable. It's always so reasonable. Let me pull out one of the cakes and let's thaw it, because I have guests coming, completely justified. And then as the day progresses, don't you want to know if it's thawed out or not?
How do we know? We got to test it.
I mean, you're just being responsible as a host to do
Mhm.
this, right? So she puts the knife in to see if it's thawed, and then the knife comes out, and what's on the knife?
The cake, the
Yes,
frosting.
frosting.
Yes,
Yes.
the frosting. It's really the frosting. Yeah.
So, I mean, how inconsequential. I'm just going to lick the frosting off the knife. This is not a big deal. Objectively, not a big deal,
One
right?
of these.
Licks
Or
the
maybe she put it in her mouth. I don't know.
licks the frosting off the knife. How many dominoes have fallen out? We are now actually, she doesn't realize it, but she's sliding and lost control down a slippery slope that she
Yeah.
doesn't even know she's on.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's also normal.
Yes. So the frosting leads to just a little bit of a sliver, just one sliver. I mean, she was, again, being a good host, got to see if, we're serving things that are up to our standards, right? So,
Right.
so she eats a sliver, and then, well, tell me what else happens here.
Well, it's the tire analogy. She's got that one flat tire. She may as well go ahead and slash the other three.
Yes,
Yeah,
sliver
she ate the
by
whole thing.
sliver. Well, actually, I think she had eaten half of it, and I do remember because
Okay.
she had shared this, and she said I couldn't leave a half a cake there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, I mean, the
Gotta
idea of
get that.
throwing it out probably didn't even occur, and it
I
was
mean,
like
I get that. Do you get that? I get that.
I do get it, and again, the power of the slash tire, like it just
Mm,
doesn't matter. I'm just gonna slash the rest, even though you'd never do that with your car or your tires. You absolutely do it. We all do. With the
food.
day is blown. The day is blown.
Yes.
So
100%.
she ended up. So she had a half left, and then who knows what psychology's at play here. If I get rid of this, first of all, no one's gonna know. That's
Right.
positive.
That's a good.
And the problem solved. The cake is gone.
Right.
So, however you want to spin it, however, avoidance behavior 101, you want to spin it. To the cake, she ate the whole cake. And that was the slippery slope that she and many other people have gone down, the carrot cake lady. So, we have heard carrot cake lady stories with foods other than carrot cake through the years. But for
Yep.
whatever reason, the one that we'll just review here, and our members know it well because we've shared it because it's sort of become the iconic new example of the carrot cake lady story, and we call it the Little Debbie disaster story. And with this, I love that, and I'll show the slide. The first domino was I'm going to go in and pick up a few herbs.
I know that one
Herbs.
kills me. That is just so not where she ended up.
How innocent.
Right.
It couldn't be more innocent. A few
Right.
herbs, just a few
Right.
herbs.
Well, I think
So,
it always starts out like that.
so I'll just sort of read off the slide here for those who are just listening. Though I really do recommend you watch this on
Yeah.
Spotify or on YouTube.
Yeah.
So this was exactly what she wrote. Yesterday, a series of missteps that began with a quick run to the grocery store on my way to my office to pick up a few fresh herbs and some water-packed tuna. Hey, she's getting her protein in.
Yep.
All good.
All good intentions.
So let's identify the dominoes here. As I was heading to the checkout, I saw a display of the Little Debbie snack cakes.
Mm-hmm.
My brother loves these, and in my former heavier life, Little Debbie snacks were part of my opium. I would eat a full box at a time. So I purchased the box with the intent to give the box to my brother for Valentine's Day.
Nice. So nice. So thoughtful.
I'm really a good sister.
Yeah.
Just generous and just so
So
many.
innocent.
How many times do calorie disasters start with I'll just buy them, but they're not for me.
Right. All the time.
All the time.
My
All
mother
the
used to
time.
do that all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
All
All
the
the
time.
time. So continuing, I proceeded to my office and took the entire grocery bag up to my office, not just the fresh herbs that needed to be refrigerated. So I joke with our
Domino.
domino number two. I joke with our members like God forbid you keep those Little Debbie snacks cakes in the car because the thieves, someone will walk by, see that, and say, "Oh, I'm breaking it for those." So after I saw patients, she's a physician, I decided to see how many calories were in a serving. It's just generic intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
it is. Third mistake. Then I thought I can fit 300 calories into my day. I haven't even looked how many calories a Little Debbie is, but somehow,
Negotiating. Now we're negotiating.
yeah.
See how
So
it's starting?
oh, and it all sounds so reasonable. And then finally, of course, I couldn't stop, so I had two more cakes to a total of 900 calories, and it was only 2:30 in the afternoon.
Mm.
That is the Little Debbie disaster. And again, when we shared that with our members, people started referring to their own calorie excesses without urge, just on their own. Like, I had a Little Debbie disaster this week. And
That's
then we
great.
realized, like, well, this is the new iconic example.
Yeah, it is
Yes.
great.
So, what do we learn from this?
Well, I think we learned the just the slippery slope, that it's so easy and it starts off so innocent. And, it isn't the intention when you buy it, but is there a point at which you can say, wait a minute, I've been down this road before. Do I want to do this? Yeah,
None of the steps until the end are extreme, really.
right.
They're
None.
reasonable, rationalizing, justifying.
Mhm.
And if you had some self awareness in that moment, it's
Mhm.
actually a lot easier to say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'll keep him in the car.
Mhm.
But the slippery slope, the whole point of it is that you gain momentum.
Mhm.
It speeds
Yeah.
up, it accelerates down the
Mhm.
slippery. It gets more slippery as you go. And, once
Mhm.
you've had one, it's
Mhm.
almost impossible to say, I'm not going to have another.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a tough one, but I think with practice and, being in the program and hearing these examples and talking about it, you can start to identify your own and start to think about, well, okay, if that were to happen again,
Yeah.
what might I do differently so that it doesn't end up in a disaster and that I actually have some agency over this, like I have some choice over this,
Yeah, well, let's be really specific. So while we're saying the first step is, the first step is, or the first domino is buying them in the first place. So let's just
Mm-hmm.
talk for a minute about EC, the
Mm-hmm.
unsung hero. Environmental
Mm-hmm.
control is the unsung hero here.
100%.
That is the first step.
100%. Yeah. You just can't
Most,
have it in your environment and just assume you're not going to eat it. I think it was Mariah who said, how many times have you done that? And, bought that, put it in your house and not eaten it before you realized it just doesn't work.
it's
You
just
know?
the mind is so easily deceived. We self-deception. Most weight management battles are won or lost in the grocery store or when you decide which restaurant or if you're going to go to a
Mhm.
restaurant. It just makes it so much easier if you do the work up front. And we've
Mhm.
talked about this before, but
Mhm.
it's a really hard one to
It
manage
is
your
a hard one.
environments aggressively.
Well, it's also hard because we do, like back to my cookie story at Stop and Shop. I mean, it's just really hard because it's everywhere. So you can leave the house with the best intentions and a plan, and you've got your shake, and then you go somewhere and you see a cookie. And it's in that moment that you've got to just, and the brain starts to get involved, and then so I always tell my members, like, just pause. It's literally pause. Like you hit the pause button and
Mm.
just, what if I do here? What if I like just ask and maybe
Yes,
do, but at least you're going in with your eyes wide
yes. Can I make one other sort of just editorial point about
open.
why
Yeah.
this is such an important point to get? So, first of all, the environment largely determines what you're going to eat, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of grease the skids yourself if
Mm-hmm.
it's the foods that's really calling to you. The environment's not getting better,
No.
it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, while this led to all sorts of problems through the years, calorie for calorie or how many calories per 5 minutes of indiscretion, it's a more costly environment to not practice EC than ever before in human history, or to think that you're going to somehow just willpower, white knuckle your way to,
It's
to
gonna stay
not
that
eating
night.
these foods. This is a nightmare. And it's a battle that you will not win. None of us. I've had them here. They're foods I just can't have in the house. And the more people can get that, it's just going to make a huge difference in terms of future struggles.
I agree with that. And I think, willpower is a toughie because people still to this day, and I get it, I so get it, so human, want to think they want to rely on that willpower, that friend of theirs, willpower, but willpower is a fair weather friend.
We have to
Not
use
always
it.
there.
We have to use it
Yeah,
periodically. We do it to,
sure.
to say, I got to take the kids to school this morning. I'd rather stay in bed or whatever. But
Right.
so we use willpower all the time, but to rely on it. And as the average person, to rely on it as your primary way that you're going to manage, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
All right. So that was a good one. Again, just sort of acknowledgement of how slippery that slippery slope is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to overstate it. Okay, let's do one final one here. This one is close to my heart. So the whole idea that, well, I remember when I was an engineer and decided to move into this field. My sister, Mariah, you already mentioned her, was already at HMR. She was a second generation founder at HMR. She said, you're going to love this. You should do it. So I left the engineering field. And I remember my boss saying, what are you going to work for, like Weight Watchers or something? What are you doing? He just thought I was out of my mind. So the idea that, okay, you are in a program to lose weight. Okay, there's a number on a scale. But this is about so much more than a number on a scale. And it boils down to, among so many other things, but quality of life. It's compromised at a heavier weight and with an unhealthy lifestyle. and it is so dramatically improved with weight loss and a healthy lifestyle. So, do comment about how important this is, and how you gained an appreciation for this through the years. About this is just so much more than a number on a scale that we're helping
I
people
mean,
to change.
I, I think weight loss is hard enough that if you don't have some other area by which you measure your success,
Hmm.
it can be really difficult for people. So the quality of life is just another way for people to be able to measure their tremendous success, and it shows itself in everything from what you can do that you couldn't do before, your health. I'll just tell a quick story. I have a member who came in this morning, and she's in her 70s, and she's been with me for a very long time, and she's keeping off 60 pounds. And she went to her PCP, and her PCP was almost annoyed at the fact that she wasn't on one medication. Annoyed, like, well, why did you come here? She said. And then she was sort of dumbfounded that she kept
Wow.
off all that weight for over 20 years. And it's interesting, right? So that's just sort of an interesting take. But her health, in her 70s, she plays with her grandkids. She walks all the time. She's not limited, by being 60 pounds heavier and the stress that puts on her joints. And just her life is
Yeah.
completely different than it would
Yes.
have been otherwise. So I don't know, that just popped into my head.
It's a great story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. I'll not comment on what the physician was thinking with her comment. Who knows what was going on in his or
Hmm.
her head? But
Interesting.
um, on the quality of life thing, to me, it's not just you mentioned some specific physical compromises she's not dealing with,
Mhm.
physical compromises in her quality of life. But one of the things I've gotten such an appreciation for is the psychological and the emotional toll that not feeling in control of this area of your health can take on you. Do you
Mhm.
remember Larry used to tell this all the time? We're kind of doing what he did with us. He shared that this had such a profound impact on him, and it's the point that we're making here. This is about so much more than just a number on a scale. He
Mhm.
shared three examples that happened within a short period of time that spoke to the lower quality of life that people were experiencing. I'll just review them very quickly here, and
Yeah.
our former HMR colleagues will remember these because he told this all the time. The first was a gentleman that he worked with to lose weight. That gentleman shared how when he was on an airplane at a heavier weight, he needed a seatbelt extender. And he'll never forget the humiliation
Mm.
when the flight attendant carried the seatbelt extender to him like it was a dead rat and
Mhm.
dropped it in his lap.
Mm.
Mortifying,
Mm.
mortifying. The
Yeah.
second story he would always tell was a woman who, at a heavier weight, again, one of the major motivators to come into the program and like change her life, was in a restaurant and it was a booth, and she was unable to get out of the booth
Mm.
because of her weight.
Yeah.
And they had to, in the restaurant, come in and remove the table. You never forget that.
Never.
And
I mean,
that probably
awful.
was the moment for her
Rock
to say
bottom.
something's got to change.
Yeah, it's that rock bottom moment
Yep.
that people talk about.
Yep. And then the last one is a woman who she was early on in the program and shared with Larry that she met a friend, whatever, in the neighborhood in the social group, and she said, "Oh, you should be so proud of your son." What do you mean? Well, Bobby in the play. What do you mean? Bobby's the lead in the high school play. And so the woman just sort of smiled it off and then went home and asked Bobby, "Why didn't you tell me you're in the play and you're the lead in the play?" He said, "Mommy, I don't want you to come to the play because you're too fat."
Mm.
Brutal.
Mm.
Just
That one's
brutal.
brutal. Yeah.
Brutal.
That.
They're all in their own way. They're all, and there's so many examples of that. So, again, not to be maudlin, but the point is you hear these stories and then you have people share these stories with you. You realize that we're up to something much bigger here
Yeah.
than dropping some pounds and, sure, the wedding dress and fitting it. That's great. We like the short term goals, but this is about a profoundly more important thing, which is, again, the physical and the emotional quality of people's lives when they can really
Yeah.
get behind some lifestyle changes.
100%. I mean, people deserve to live the quality of life and not have to be burdened by that that stuff that you just mentioned, and that's just heavy and it's hard and it pulls at your heartstrings, and it's possible. I mean, you can live like that, but the possibilities are endless. It's kind
And
of cool.
and all of those examples, I know we're about to wrap up here, but all those were like their or people's why, their big why. And I always like to share when we used to do our Facebook Lives back in the day, whenever we had members who were guests from Milestone Fitness,
Hmm.
Baptist East Milestone, Chuck and his team,
Hmm.
I was always so struck by no matter what the topic was, because we had several of them on, they always would bring in the way you got to remember your big why.
Yeah.
And, Shane, right from the top, Crystal, all of those people,
Yep.
you got to remember your
Yep.
why. In fact, my first interview with Shane, it's on YouTube. We called it Know Your Why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, you got to remember your why. And
Yep.
I will just say one other thing. I think I'm going to include the video at the end. Do you
Yeah.
remember one of those Facebook Lives that we did? One of the program members was Will.
Yeah. Mm.
And Will
Cried.
talked, yeah,
I cried.
you cried, he cried, I cried, Coach Nancy cried. It's a very meaningful. So I'll put that in at the end, just an edited version of that so people can hear Will on the Facebook Live. But basically he shared his why. And interestingly enough, it was about Disney. He wanted to go to, he had always gone to Disney, he always loved Disney, and he had become too heavy to go to Disney. I'll show a picture of Will too here,
Yeah.
and before and after. And so his wife was like, let's go to Disney. I know how much you love Disney. And he says, I can't. I don't want to go anymore because I can't fit on the rides and it'll just be miserable. And as he talks about this in the Facebook Live, he gets very choked up and it's very emotional. And so Will is with us in our program still today.
Awesome.
I'll show a photo of that too. He's great.
Awesome.
He's great. He's
Yeah,
just
that's great.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
he lost the weight. And guess what? Went to Disney. He actually said in that interview it's the first time he hadn't needed a seatbelt extender.
Oh, that's so
Just
good.
coincidentally, isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah. All the things that should just be easy, I love that. I love all that. So important.
Yeah. He
Makes
even
the work
said
really beautiful.
this program, losing this weight, has saved my life. And here today, he's gained very little weight. So people, when they see that photo, this is like real time. He is just working
That's
it.
great to hear.
Yeah,
That is
no,
good, because I didn't know the update about him, but
oh yeah,
yeah, I've had people tell me this program has saved my life,
yeah,
which it's amazing.
yes.
So
So again, we could keep going, but these were just more member stories that we'll never forget. And again, why do we take the time to review these things? It's simple. We shared some positives, certainly around the PA and the weight losses, but then there are some real negatives. And these are teachable moments or
yeah,
teachable stories for people we mentioned patterns earlier, to be able to identify where you could potentially be facing a pitfall that you're unaware of. And by just hearing about the realities of this, sometimes it's hard to hear, but it does set people up if they've got an open mind to this and can see some of the commonalities and the experiences
mm-hmm.
across all of the members. It does set you up for a more successful experience as you
Yeah.
approach this world of lifestyle change.
Yeah, and it's not getting any easier, as you said. So being able to relate to the stories and just being aware is really, really important.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I'm going to play an excerpt from Will to
Yeah,
wrap this up here, and that'll be it for this episode.
yeah.
All
All right,
right.
perfect.
Great. You have a great rest of the day, Gina.
You too. Until later.
This is a very meaningful story that you shared. I'm wondering if you would be kind enough to share it with our audience. I'd ask our audience if you like what you're hearing, give Will a little love on that. Tell us, take us into that story just for a minute.
And I'm just going to preface it now that I might start crying because it is an emotional story for myself.
You're good.
The last trip my wife and I took to Disney back in, I think it was 2019. There got to a point where some of the rides that we enjoy riding, we couldn't ride together. I was just too big, frankly. I would get in, the ride car, and she would try to get in next to me, and it wasn't comfortable. So we go to the next ride, and I'm like, you go in that car, I'll be in the one behind you, I'll be in the seat behind you, or whatever. And I saw how it upset her a lot. And frankly, it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to go back. And so when it came time to this year, we were thinking about things to do. And we already had 2 trips that we went on, and I was already in the program, and it was, it was fun. We had a great time. And my wife was like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Because I turned 40 this year, just a couple of weeks ago. And around September-ish, like August, September-ish, somewhere, she was like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I was like, I want to go back to Disney. And the reason I wanted to go back, because I wanted to get back on those rides again with her. But on top of that, on this flight, it was the first time since we've been married that I didn't need a seatbelt extender on the airplane. And it reinforced the reason why this became so important to me. Because for the first time since literally we've been married, I'm fitting in clothes that I was fitting in high school. And this is the smallest that she's seen me as a married couple. And we grew up together in church, so she's seen me. Oh, I'm getting too emotional. She's seen me in ways throughout my life as I've been changing. And this has been beautiful to be able to have this time with her in a way that we haven't had before, and to really be able to experience it and share in it in a way that we hadn't before. And this has literally saved my life. Because I'm able to do things I wasn't able to do for a long time. And I am so thankful for this program in that way. And what started off as just being an encouragement for a friend, and receiving encouragement from so many other friends, and making new friends, and seeing how this community encourages one another to, again, keep going. And if there's anything I can share with anybody watching who hasn't heard it, don't let these frustrations keep you down, because the plan works, the program works, and just keep going, and allow yourself the grace to say, if it doesn't work this week, it can work next week. Just keep going. Just keep going.